Good afternoon, Line Golf Academy members and guests, and today is an exciting day. This is the first of a 12-episode series we're doing, which will feature 4 volunteers from the subscriber base, and the goal of the series is to find out if we can help these students of varying skills and lifestyles accomplish a short-term goal in golf. We will feature 2 volunteers every week, and it is my goal to help them as much as I can based on the information they provided me and their weekly video submissions for me to evaluate. This is an experiment, and I'm sure it's going to help some of you see similar patterns and traits in yourself. If you do like this or get some entertainment or education out of it, please consider supporting the channel with likes, comments, and subscriptions, as it is free, but it really helps the channel. We do raise money through this channel to support the Hilla Hood Foundation in South Africa for low-income children and help introduce golf to their lives. Enough of the dilly-dallying. Let's get ready for episode 1 of our YouTube Golf University Season 1. Alright, so before we get to the evaluations, I did send 10 questions over to everybody to give me a better understanding of the student's body and their learning type and their disabilities. And these questions did cover all those subjects. So my evaluations also include what they mentioned in that. So keep that in mind, but let's get going. Okay, everybody watching, Harrison's on the screen now. We've got the basic line set up here. What we're going to look at is his overall motions, try and give him something to work on. But we're going to look at his setup right away. Setup on the right side of the screen looks pretty solid. We see even weights. You see the feet about shoulder width apart, which is a nice neutral starting position. We see there's hands, the head, and the club face and the club ball all in a similar line. Alignment on the left side of the screen, feet are slightly closed, shoulders look fairly square, hips look fairly square. So if that helps you get a little bit more turn by pulling that right foot back, that's okay with me. All in all, a decent setup. And if we take that line straight from the arches of his feet straight up in the air, he's really close to where his spine angle and his lower plane intersect. So that is looking pretty good there. Okay, left side of the screen, let's take this club back to right at halfway, and we can see that's pretty solid there. We can see that this club face is matching that spine angle pretty well. Hands are slightly coming up out of their lower plane line, and let's see on the right side of the screen, we can see he does a great job of really extending out. Club is parallel to the ground here. No swaying going on here, but we can see a little bit of this lower back kind of arching under. So when you set up, maybe you have a little bit too much arching, and that can start to create some issues with the tilting of your shoulders. However, let's go back at the top of the swing, and we can see he gets that top plane line pretty well. We see the club is right where those arches are. So in my opinion, he does a pretty good job establishing enough turn to get that club back. Club face, let's back it up a little bit on the left side here. Club face is still pretty close. It's pretty level with that left forearm. On the right side of the screen, we see a little bit of an issue here, and we can see that club head is actually going and through his top of his head. Now we're going to back up and see where we start to lose that. So at the top of the swing here, we can see, let me draw this one in purple, we can see that the shoulders are starting to level out. On the left side, we can see that curvature of this lower back usually can lead to this at the top of your swing, where we start to lose that tilting. Now when you start to lose that tilting, when you get to the top of the swing, you're essentially flatter than when you need to be. Now you do need to see some spacing between the arms and the head, and that can come just from you getting your left shoulder to tilt down initially at the takeaway. So if we back it up from this takeaway, we can see how the club is on that lower plane line, but the hands are not, and you can already see that left shoulder starting to raise up as a result of that. So some things I want you to work on for this week going into next video week is that left shoulder. Try and keep that left shoulder working its way down, and you can also alleviate that lower back by kind of straightening out so it's not so tucked in. What you're looking for, Harrison, is if I were to draw a little circle here, you want those hands in the circle to kind of match everything, hands, club face, and circle, so the club face actually makes the hands somewhat disappear. Now for you to feel that left shoulder has to go further down to that right knee. So, and this is where things might get a little bit tricky over YouTube, is giving you ideas of what to work on. So feeling wise, you're going to feel like that left shoulder is going further down, which will then pull your hands closer to that lower plane line down here. But the problem is if you do that, that club head might veer off below that, which is another problem. So this takes a lot of mirror work. You can do drills, but mirror work works really well. And if you don't have one, I'm sure you have a TV at home. Turn the TV off, it turns black, and you can actually see your reflection. I used to do that a lot before we had cameras. And you can actually take your hands, pull them down with your left shoulder, but then also that club, just look at where the club is. The club should be covering your hands at that midway point, because what's happening here is if you go to the top of the swing here, because your shoulders are flatter, as you turn from the top, it's going to mess with that plane because your arms are trying to do a good job, but you can see right here, your club is definitely over the top, and you lose it over the top here. Now you can counteract that. You can learn a new move by really tilting that right shoulder down, but that's going to create another issue. Everything we're trying to learn here is about cause and effect, and how do we stop that effect by working on your cause. So for this week, I want you to focus on that left shoulder going further down, more towards your right knee. Keep that club face in alignment with your hands, and then just out of curiosity, we're going to look at that downward position, and as we come into the impact, we can see as a result of your manipulation that you have to try and do, we see a little bit of standing up, and when you stand up, you run out of room over here, so your hands have to kind of throw, and we see that right side of the screen. You have a good angle till about here because your plane is so far outside of in, because you've leveled out your shoulders. It's really hard for you to maintain that tilt, and your hands have to release, and you can see most of your angles gone before you even hit the golf ball, and it's completely gone by the time you get to the golf ball. So you do have some scooping issues, but the overall motion of your body is pretty solid, and your hands are always in front of your chest. And hopefully that makes sense for everybody watching this. So let's go. Next up, we have Kim. So let's look at your setup right away, Kim. Left side of the screen, we can see a little bit wider stance, which can definitely help you with distribute your weight from right to left, but sometimes it can kind of prohibit your turn, so we'll have to look at what that causes in your swing. Right side of the screen, we can see you look pretty evenly balanced. Your arms are hanging down nice and straight. Alignment looks fairly straight, so just to make double sure that you are going where you need to go, your foot line and your club face line should always be parallel of each other. Club face hits the golf ball to the target, not your feet, so make sure your feet are aiming slightly left of your target. A couple alignment rods down on the ground can really help you, and as well as you, Harrison, if you're still watching. Let's take a look at the motion overall. Okay, we see a lot of lateral slide going on the way through, causing you to get those hands involved. And right side of the screen, let's take a look here. So arms, yeah, seems a little bit trapped. Okay, there's definitely some trapping going on. The arms kind of run out of room, so you have to kind of lunge your body at it. So left side of the screen, you see you pivot around that right hip joint pretty well, but then you can see all of a sudden that body leans way left to get to that impact line. But essentially what you do now is you move that golf ball on the right side of your body with that motion, which will cause your hands to be active, and this is what gives that perception of you losing your angle, because there's no way to hold on to the angle when your motion's going so far left. You need to flip at it through impact. However, you don't have a chicken wing, which is good. That means your body's turning and opening up and helping you keep that left arm straight. So there's a lot of good things going on here, but we just got to get you to be a little bit more centered and solid. I like the fact that you get your weighting from right to left. However, it's a little bit too much. So let's look at the right side of the screen, and we can see those disconnection already. So the hands are going down low, which is kind of what Harrison needs to do. If he can get his hands here, but the club face up there, things will be a lot easier. Now, however, your hands are going on that lower plane line, but your club face is opening up. So we see a lot of rotation with the hands and arms. And from that rotation, we get the club very low in terms of our upper plane line. So you can see a lot of this weighting is going to be on your toes. Now, when I see people that have weighting on their toes, they counteract that by getting their arms lower, or vice versa. The arms are going lower, so their weight has to go to the toes to kind of even things out. Now, the problem with this is as you come down to impact, it's very hard to reroute where you want to go outside and in. So everything's going to be going down. You do a great job of getting it on the plane. However, with this lateral slide, there's hardly any rotation in your first part of the moves. So not only do you lose posture, you can see a new posture loss, but you're fighting to keep that club on plane. You do a great job here, but look at that club face, it's wide open. So that's where the overactive hands have to be involved. You do lose some shoulder tilt. You have a good motion coming through. So all in all, let's get you squared up. I want you to work on the similar motion that Harrison's trying to do, except you're the opposite. So we do a good job right about here, and we can see those arms take over. So let's point you in the right position. So you need to feel like your club head is staying on that plane line longer. So as you take your hands back normally, feel like the club is going outside of your golf ball. Something you might want to work on is placing another golf ball in line with your target, and feel like that club head is going to push that ball out so the ball kind of rolls in this direction. It'll help you stay connected, and will help you from leaning forward because your hands go so far behind you. Now you need to feel more upright. You need to get those hands higher and it's really going to help that lower back. Now, I know that you're concerned about back injuries, but when you have this much lateral slide and you're crashing into the golf ball, you can see you're still trying to turn. So I don't see an indication of issues with lower back with where I'm trying to take you on. If you had a poor golf ball position where it forced you to tilt and turn, that could definitely cause some lower back issues. But where your golf ball is now is great. I think what can open the can of worms for your lower back issues is that lateral slide. So we got to get rid of that. Only way to get rid of that for you right now is get those hands up higher so you don't have to slide over, but you can drop your hands naturally and turn. So that is your assignment for week number 1. Get your club face more connected with your hands. Almost feel like the club face is going to be above your hands. I hope that helps you guys. If you do like this, hit that like and subscribe, and we'll be back next week, Friday, for the other 2 volunteers, and we'll see where we go from here. Hope you enjoy that, everybody. Have a great weekend. Fairways and greens.
Just cheap.